up your loads and make that money flow. We'll keep the shiny side up wherever we go. Set your own schedule, master of the road. Hauling freedom's cargo, lightening up your load. Tips and tricks for truckers, yeah, we're helping you. From dawn till dusk, we'll see it through. Staying driven hard in it every mile. Hunting gears and wearing a smile. From hustling 60 truckers, yeah, we're helping you. From dawn till dusk, we'll see it through. Staying driven hard in every mile. Hunting gears and wearing a smile. From hustling city streets to the country lane. Driven trucking, we ease the strain. Keep your eyes on that line. From sunrise to moonshine. Owner operators, this show's for you. Tune in, get tips, and roll on through. From diesel fumes to mountain views, we'll guide your way. Hauling grit and glory every single day. On the rubber, feel the freedom in every bend. Driven trucking, your best highway friends. Staying driven hard in it every mile. Hunting gears and wearing a smile. Hustling 60 truckers, yeah, we're helping you. From dawn till dusk, we'll see it through. Staying driven hard in every mile. Hunting gears and wearing a smile. From hustling city streets to the country lane. Driven trucking, we ease the strain.
Good morning. Good morning. Hope everyone had a happy Labor Day, whether you were trucking along or if you were home with the family. Hope you enjoyed it. If you were out there working, thanks for your service. Do appreciate it. I know you guys work hard. Been there. Hope everybody's doing well, though. Start of a new week. This is week 2 of doing the Truck It Market Update. Real quick, if you are new, thanks for dropping in. The goal of what I do Monday through Friday every morning is to update you guys on the pertinent information for owner operators to keep you up to date on the load boards, so that way you can make the most money. Plain and simple. If you're catching this on the replay, there is a timestamp where the actual trucking market update will start. So check that out. It should be pinned right up there. Thanks for you guys for dropping in today. Haas, better song than most radio stations put out these days. I appreciate that. AI, man, it's a wonderful thing. It's scary, but it's pretty cool. So yeah, that I personally didn't write that. I had AI write that, but was very happy with the way that it came out. Thought it was cool. There's a couple lines in there that I'm like, what, where did you get that from? But I had to leave it just because I liked that rendition. So yeah, loving what I'm seeing today on the load boards. We've got, I think we've got a much better start to this week, and the heat map will certainly show that. It's looking real good. So I'm happy for all of you out there busting those rocks and hopefully making some good money this week. I said that I was going to do this, and it came in. And once we get some more people that are consistently watching this, like, I don't know, let's say like 100, then what I'll do is I'll put like kind of a like requirement on the live feed, I guess, to get the dad joke of the day. But my dad joke calendar came in, so I like jokes. So let's start off with a joke this morning, shall we? If you are, I would appreciate, the thumbs up if you could hit that for me. But anyway, for Tuesday, September 3rd, what is a lazy person's favorite shoes to wear? Loafers. I'm sure you guys have probably heard that before, but cool little calendar. I'm going to give you guys a bonus since a lot of you were probably working yesterday. Um, we're gonna go ahead and do this. This is actually from the first, but it's way funnier than yesterday's. So, one more. Why did the coffee file a police report? Because they got mugged. Oh man, I'm excited about that calendar. Say what you want. I think it's funny. Anyway, how we doing today? Where's everybody at? What are y'all up to? What's going on? If you're driving, obviously don't leave a comment. But if you're not, where you at? Where'd you wake up this morning? Ooh, needing that coffee. Needing that coffee this morning. Whew. Found a cool little spot yesterday. So me and the wifey went out after we dropped the kids off and had a good time. So struggling a little bit this morning, but that's okay. That's what coffee's for, right? Anyway, I'm going to assume that a lot of you are driving, that are watching, that are tuned in. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the real reason why I do all this. Y'all don't tune in just to see my pretty face, do you? If you do, hey, hi. If not, let's actually get into the content. So, as always, we're going to start with the national load counts for overall for states for loads in versus loads out, and this is pretty self-explanatory, right? The more loads out than loads in, the better, right? That means that less trucks are in the area. What does that mean? That means that you have the negotiating power. This is going to be a good week. You're going to see the heat map here in a little bit. So, but anyway, Alabama a little lower than normal. So Arkansas, kind of like last week, starting off pretty strong. About 150% more loads out than loads in. So not bad. Arizona actually has a decent amount of freight. You're going to see the top half of Arizona here in a little bit on the heat map is red, but don't trust that. Don't trust that. California looking hot. 700 plus loads out to loads in. No surprise there, right? Delaware, okay. I think it's not bad for Delaware, but there's certainly some better states over there. And because it's so small, they're easy to get to. So I would ignore that. Florida wrecked as usual. But if you are going to Florida, there is a portion of Florida that's red, which we'll get into later. But 25 almost or over 2,400 loads in versus only 721 loads out. So pretty rough. Georgia not in the greatest of shape. It did start off with more loads out than loads in last week, but not seeing that this week. So Georgia not looking the greatest. Iowa's in pretty good shape, 567 out to 437 in. Idaho's okay, low volume state though, so be wary. Illinois starting off hot, which is good, because last week it was not, and I was shocked. It's one of the first times seeing the kind of the Chicago market lagging behind, but you've got 2,483 out to 2,070 in. Not great necessarily to speak of, but I mean at the same time it's better, certainly much better than it was last week. So if that's kind of your typical route, look forward to making a little bit more money this week, which is good. Indiana, solid, 150% more again. 1,872 loads out versus 1,205 in. Kansas above average, Kentucky above average, Louisiana above average. Maine, decent amount of loads up in Maine. Not the greatest of areas, but usually it pays really well to go up there. So not the worst that I've seen. But it usually doesn't pay great coming out, and a lot of times it's water and it's going to be a little heavy, right? Maryland, not the greatest of shape. I said Maine. I meant Massachusetts. Excuse me. Maine, that's more realistic. 151 loads in, 118 out. But Massachusetts not in the greatest of shapes. Excuse me. Minnesota not so hot. Missouri looking good. About 1,200 out to a little over 800 in. Mississippi, dead even. Montana, not a lot to report on. North Carolina, this was up last week. The Carolinas in general, not necessarily North Carolina, I believe it's South Carolina, but because that Atlanta market's not in the greatest of shape right now. Might want to consider bouncing over to the Carolinas. North Carolina, though, not the greatest. North Dakota's got some decent freight, and last week it was paying to come out of North Dakota and that Minnesota area up there. But see, the Minnesota area is not 535 out to 777 in, not the greatest. Jersey in decent shape, not as good as it was last week, so be a little wary. Nevada is up again. I'm not sure what's going on over there, but this is 2 weeks in a row. Maybe this is the new norm. New York looking okay, a little over 1,300 out to 1,100 in. Not spectacular, but not the worst I've ever seen. 25% more loads in Ohio, so 2,480 out as compared to 823 in. That's always solid, right? You're going to notice that this is going to be a Midwest week for sure. This is definitely a Midwest week. So Oklahoma, I mean, a little below average. Oregon, about average, which is good if you're heading up to that Northwest. It's good to see that turn around. That was decimated last week. There wasn't a lot. There was way less freight than that, and it was in a lot worse shape. So PA looking good, 2,500 to out to 1,941 in. Here's the South Carolina. If you're down in that Atlanta market, probably going to want to be coming out of South Carolina. 963 out, 664 in. That's solid. South Dakota in good shape. Tennessee's about even. It's a coin toss. Texas not in good shape. 3,300 loads out to over 4,000 loads in. So it looks like everybody's headed to Texas. Those are the highest numbers that I've seen so far. Not egregious, but a little bit above average. So just be wary. I mean, it is Texas. It's hard to get good paying freight coming out of here. Believe me, I know. Washington, okay. The volume seems to be up a little bit, but not great for loads in, loads out. And then West Virginia, Wisconsin down here above average, West Virginia above average, and Wyoming above average. Let's check the comments real quick. What's up, Rob? Good morning. Woke up in bed since I started local at the end of July. Got off the road because my firstborn son. Congratulations. Wanted to be home for his birth and for a while after. Yep. No worries. If you guys are driving, no worries at all. Y'all be safe out there. But man, congratulations. That's awesome. That's the reason why I'm doing this now and why I'm off the road, because of my kids. Exactly. So congratulations. Hope he's healthy and doesn't give you too much hell raising him, right? Just enough. We'll say just enough. But be safe out there on the road. We're going to dive into trend lines because this is a new week. So look at that DATCon coming up October 22nd, 24th. This should be a new week, so some of this is going to update, which is good. So we can look at, we're going to start off with vans, since that's what I'm covering on this channel mostly, because that's what most of you drive. I have seen more requests for some deck stuff and even some reefer stuff, so I may just need to cover all of it. And considering what I'm doing, I'm heavily thinking that, kind of swaying that way. So we are going to go over all of the trend lines, since you guys probably can't look down at the screen if you're rolling. Van loads to trucks. So it's showing from last week that we're actually down almost 12%, which I find that fascinating, because the heat map is way hotter this week than what we saw last week. So maybe just in general across the board, for the entirety of the United States, it's down, but in the hotter areas, they're way hotter this week. So that's a good thing. As compared to last year, it's also down, but it's not down as much. I think, if I remember right, I think last month, July, compared to 2023, as to 2024, was down like 15%. So we're trending in the right direction, and you can see that we're trending in the right direction when we look at this next marker, and that's going to be van spot rates. So even though the load to truck ratio is down, 11.5%, the actual rate is only down less than 1%. So I mean, that's a good sign. That's a sign that you're moving in the right direction. Freight's looking up and should be in good shape. As compared to last year, they are down a little bit, but not horribly. 3.33%. Now I'm not gonna sprinkle sugar on a turd and call it good, but because and I know it's not great, but it could be worse. Looking at flatbed loads to truck ratio, week over week compared to last week, down about 7.2%. But looking at monthly, so August compared to July, it's showing to be down almost 20%, which is way up there. But compared to last year, they're up 15%. So flatbedders are certainly making some good money. Week over week, it's basically the same. I'm not even going to say anything about that. As compared to last year, it's down 3.6%. Reefers from last week, freight's down about 7%, and compared to last month as well as August of last year, the rates the load to truck ratio for reefers is down 10.5%. The actual rates, as far as last week, they're down about 1%, so going down a little bit. Compared to last month, they're down almost 2%, and compared to last year, nearly 4%. So a little fascinating, but looking at fuel prices compared to last week, down 1.1%. Ooh, I mean, take what you can get, right? But man, at the same time, that needs to come way down. Not bad though, for considering we're at that time of year where generally starts to slowly rise back up. Although it's an election year, so compared to last month, it's down 1.4%, and compared to last year, you're down 20%. So that's a good thing. And look at the spike here. So last month, we were looking at from July to August, spot rates for vans were down an average of a nickel across the board, whereas going into September, we're up a dime. So that's pretty solid. That's 211. That's the highest it's been in the last 4 months. So looking really solid there. The heat map of the United States is going to reflect that too when we get into that. Flatbed, so it was down a nickel also from July to August, but moving from August to September, let's do some quick math here, and it's up 28 cents. 28 cents. That's huge. That's fantastic to see. Very solid. Reefer is down. Actually, it's not updated yet. So not updated yet, so we'll do that tomorrow. I do look at this every day, but I don't go into as detail as I do on the first day of the week, simply because there's no reason this doesn't change. They're updated weekly, but I do hit them really quickly. So tomorrow we'll look at the reefer, how much it's gone up, and hopefully it's a lot. Probably not as much as the flatbed's gone up. That's a shock to see, but good for you skateboarders out there. Fuel prices. So the current national diesel fuel price average at the moment is $3.65. Weekly percent change is 1%. If you remember, it was $3.69 last week. So trending in that right direction. That 1% difference makes about 4 cents of a difference. So not huge, but hey, it's moving in the right direction, right? With rates going up in average and fuel going down, more money in your pocket. So that's a good thing, right? Am I getting King is asking if I'm getting back into trucking. I am not, King. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I've committed to doing this. This update for owner operators. It's going to be Monday through Friday. Currently it's at 8 a.m. Central Time. But I do miss trucking. I miss trucking. I loved being out there. I loved YouTube. I loved teaching you guys that wanted it or needed it or just enjoyed my content. And so this is the best way that I can help out, right? It's really all that I can do. I am going to teach some, maybe one video a week, but it's going to be more on the business side of things. Anybody that's got a butt in a seat, can and half a brain, I guess. Hopefully, you guys give me credit for at least half a brain. Can look at finance, can look at numbers, can look at load boards, can do all of basically the administrative stuff, the administrative side of trucking. So I'd love to, spread my expertise in that area. If for you guys that don't know, you probably don't know. I don't know if I ever mentioned it, probably once or twice, but I did go to Baylor's School of Business, so I do have some knowledge as far as how to run a company goes. And then on top of that, I'm a researcher, so before I dove into being an owner operator, being a trucking company owner, technically, even though I had one truck, right? I still did a ton of research as far as how to make the most money, and I picked a lot of brains, a lot of brains. Matter of fact, everyone that would give me an ear, I would fill it with questions, and then I would open up my two ears rather than my one mouth and listen to what they had to say. So, but the long answer to your question is no, I'm not. I'm not getting back into a truck. The whole reason I got out of the truck was for my kids. They didn't really know who I was, and I work hard. I've always been a hard worker. I think I got that from my dad, and just having that truck sitting there and that trailer sitting there, I didn't know how to park it. I just didn't, and so I needed to sell it, and that's what I did. And now I get to spend time with my kids all the time. I had them this last weekend, and it was an extended weekend, so that was great. And we had a really good time. They're at a really fun age right now. My son just turned 7 a little while ago, and my daughter turns 6 in November. So uh, having having so much fun with them and being able to watch them grow up is it's more important to me than my career. So that was why I'm not getting back into trucking. If I get back into this industry in any shape, form, or fashion, it will be on the administrative side. Certainly haven't ruled that out. I've got a lot of ideas that are marinating and ideas that would ultimately be extremely beneficial to you guys. But it's going to take some time. It's going to take some money. So not anytime soon. But um, as far as getting into a truck, no. As far as getting back into the trucking industry, highly likely. There's the long answer to your video. Oh, wow. Van rates have made a bump in September. Yeah, Jerome. When we get to this heat map here in a second, you'll see why. So, what do you do for consistent work since you've gotten out? I do a little of this and a little of that. um, man, I'm in a blessed position. How about we'll just say that I'm very blessed. Um, to the point that I really don't have to work, man. Um, I don't want to dive too deep into that, but yeah, I'm just pretty lucky. So we've got 10 people in here, which I appreciate each and every one of you. But clearly, I'm not going to get rich off of YouTube, so I'm not doing this for the money either. Um, just in a good spot, man, where I can see my kids as much as I want, do what I want, and I'm choosing to help owner operators keep up with the trucking market. So that's that. Moving into the heat map here. Sorry, I'm rambling a little bit today. And real quick, on a side note, I have I'm not off of my carnivore diet, but I've cheated numerous times the past few days, and man, I can tell so much. Um, but it's just fascinating to see the mental clarity difference, or really the mental fog difference, when not eating right and having a few drinks, and it's just night and day. Anyway, I'm not going to go down that. I don't want to like turn into like that vegetarian that got to hear all the stories, but just interesting. So looking at this heat map, you can see lots of red this week. Lots of red. Love to see this. Love to see the week starting off this way. Now, keep in mind, this is for flatbed. Or, I'm sorry, this is for van freight. But this is great because last week all we started off with was about the same over here in California, the Dallas and Houston market, this Midwestern area here, but it was more just Indiana and Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Jersey, and then the Atlanta area. The Atlanta area and even the Chicago area, which the Chicago area was not red, but generally, those big freight hubs, they're always going to be red just because they have so much freight. So you really got to pay attention to, loads in versus loads out and see what kind of negotiating power you have. But I mean, this just looks beautiful. And there's a reflection on, how much you guys are making right off the bat. I mean, brokers are posting loads at 10 cents more than what they would last week. That's huge, right? So, what does that tell you? That tells you that the demand is up for these loads. So negotiate harder, make more money, make more money. Um, but all this Midwestern area, so essentially everything, um, all the way down to the bottom of Illinois, stretching all the way across, going across Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, all the way over to New York, New Jersey, even the northern tip of Maryland, and even stretching up into the bottom of New York and almost up to Buffalo, not quite Buffalo, but all of that is red, looks great. The western half of Michigan's looking solid. The eastern half of Wisconsin's looking good. Minnesota not so hot, but as you can see up here, this last week, this North Dakota, the eastern part of North Dakota, and basically all of the northern part of Minnesota, this is where people were making the most money last week, which I found fascinating. Um, there's not a ton of trucks up there. There's not a ton of freight up there, but they were paying the spot rates. I don't remember exactly what it was percentage wise, but it was high up there. Don't be fooled by Arizona over here. Arizona just doesn't have a lot of freight. So, Godspeed if you're taking a load into Arizona and looking for a load out. Supposedly, it's good conditions for the northern half, but I wouldn't trust that as far as I could throw it at all. Stretching down here into this dirty south area, we've got the majority of Georgia looking good, but we know from looking at overall loads in, loads out that Georgia's really not in a great spot. So despite seeing this Georgia looking good on this heat map, I wouldn't really trust it. I wouldn't trust it going down that direction. What I mean by wouldn't trust that is I wouldn't try to negotiate hard, right? If I found a load that I was comfortable with, would I ask for more money? I always ask for more money. I always, always, always ask for more money. But if I call and I don't get more money, but I'm still comfortable with the rate that's put out there, I'd probably just go ahead and take it and get out to some of these other hot areas. Probably try to get back up to the Midwest, possibly over here to the Little Rock area. I know that Western Tennessee and that eastern, northeastern part of Arkansas can be pretty good for vans. So not bad, not bad. I'd probably stay away from the Walmart DC, but hey, don't hate on me. You guys know what I'm talking about. The Kansas City area, the actual Kansas City area, not the whole entirety of Kansas because it's dry as a bone, but it looks pretty good too. So can make some good money coming out of there as well. All of Louisiana's lit up, Mississippi's lit up, so really looks like a really solid triangle. Would either bounce back and forth between would I go? I just don't. I'm not crazy about coming down here. Maybe it's just my bias because I didn't get great freight coming out of Houston. Not even a lot coming out of Dallas. I just tended to not go all the way down here. Um, so me personally, I'd probably try to wear this Memphis lane out at the start of the week, but I would keep in mind that it's probably going to dry up towards the end of the week. So I'd probably bounce to the Memphis area and then bounce up to try to go all the way to Ohio. But if I could find something Indiana, possibly Kansas City, I might do that. Maybe looking for a little bit longer haul up to Wisconsin with preparation. If I couldn't get what I wanted coming out of Wisconsin, to come down to Chicago and grab a load there. Um, wouldn't be afraid to go into the western half of Pennsylvania. That's as far as I liked to go because I didn't like to mess with the mountains over here. But if I did come down to this Memphis area or even over to Hotlanta or South Carolina, I probably wouldn't mind going up into either Maryland or even as far as Jersey. I wasn't crazy about going there, but we saw some good freight coming out of Jersey too. Just keep in mind when you actually leaving that northeastern area, it doesn't pay well. They don't pay well at all because they know that most drivers don't want to go there. So that's something to contend with. If you're not if you're not going to that northeastern area a lot, stay away. Just put it that way. Just stay away because the rates that you're going to get coming out of there are usually horrendous. Every once in a while, you can find something decent going into Pennsylvania, but keep in mind you're going to be deadheading out of there over to Ohio if you want a good paying load. So let's see here. Let's see what we got going on. How's the load cans for van usually after Labor Day on September and makes a huge drop? Yeah, it usually goes down a little bit as we get into um more into closer to November, and then of course it picks up a little bit for December, but it doesn't last. um Actually, if I remember right, see, I have to. My knowledge is a little old, and on top of that, I pulled a skateboard. But it does start to dip off towards the end of September, but you're going to see a lot of basically the mail routes popping up, right? The UPS, the FedEx, the Amazons, all that stuff, and those can pay really well when you look at your numbers, right? Do they pay incredibly rate per mile? I mean, no, it's not like insane. It's not like a $3 a mile situation. But when you figure out all of your costs, right? Because they're almost always light loads, there's no deadhead, and there's generally no downtime. Are you going to wait at some of these receivers and shippers? Yeah, but it's not a lot. And so your overall cost operation is really, really solid whenever you're running those. I do recommend those. I ran, what did I run? I think I ran two of those. When I was at Mercer, that was the first thing that I did. I grabbed one of those packages, and what did I run out of up there? I think I ran out of Walton, Kentucky, and I would just bounce up to Chicago. And it was an overnight run, but that was all I did, just back and forth, wore that out. And oh, I don't want to lie. I don't remember what I made per mile, but it was pretty solid. And I'm pretty sure I wound up banking to myself, pretty sure maybe 17 or 18 grand for about a month and a half worth of work. So I mean, it's not like I was getting rich up there. Can you do better? Yeah, you can do better, but it's really solid, it's really consistent, and it's guaranteed. So but anyway, as those routes pick up and as trucks start to go over there and run all of that, it kind of levels out. So I mean, does freight volume drop generically? Yeah, but with a lot of those trucks doing more of that, it kind of balances itself out, right? And then December just picks up just naturally because there's more mail moving, and then you get the beginning of the year, notoriously January being one of the worst months usually. Uh, King says, learned a lot from your truck videos, so look forward to learning the business side from you. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. Gus, do you keep in touch with the guy you sold your truck to? I do not, but I was thinking about that the other day. I was really curious because, I rolled 1,000,000 miles, right? It was something that I had to do. I just no way I was stepping out of that truck without seeing that odometer at 1,000,000 miles. And as I was making the thumbnail this morning, I was scrolling through and I scrolled past my screenshot that I took, right? Or not screenshot, but my picture that I took of the odometer. And I was so mad at myself because I didn't get the exact 1,000,000 mile picture. And like, I don't know how many times I reminded myself, but I mean, you guys know how it is. And you get on the road and you're out in the middle. I'm pretty sure I was in Arizona when it happened. So I mean, there was just nothing to look at, and I think I just zoned out for a little bit. And when I came to, I realized I was like, I think I got it at 1,000,004, maybe something like that. But yeah, at this point, I didn't get the exact 1,000,000 mile, but I did roll that 1,000,000 miles, and so very happy with that. I think I bought that truck with about 450 something thousand miles on it, if I remember right, maybe 460. So put some decent miles on that thing. But Yeah, I am curious how it's doing. It was gonna need a rebuild. It it was that truck originally had is it called a wet kit? I don't know what the kit's called. Maybe some kind of blower mechanism, but it essentially it was running tanker before, and it had high idle time. So the fact that I didn't rebuild that thing before a million miles, I was really, really happy with it. And I gave him a good deal on it. Even though truck prices were through the roof, I still gave him a really good deal on it. He bought it out of steel. So that way I could sleep at night. I was, you know, I just didn't want to high gross somebody on that, knowing that he very likely needed to rebuild that thing within. He could have maybe squeezed another 2 years out of it, but you know, it needed to be done. Oh man, I did not know you were doing the carnivore diet, Jerome says. Yeah, man. Um, I did it just to see. Just to see. It was more of my curiosity than anything. I've tried a lot of different diets. I've done some fasting, but what I will say is everything is different when you try when you go carnivore. Like I sound like I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but I mean, I guess I am. I guess I have. It's amazing. And sure, the weight loss is incredible. You can do it on a budget. Like, I mean, we're saving money eating better. It's weird. And then, but the most important thing is the mental clarity. The mental clarity that I have on this is unreal. I can literally have like a small bag of chips, right? Like one of those little bags you put in your kid's lunch, right? I can have one of those, and the next day I wake up a little foggy. It's crazy. And then when I go all out, like, whenever we go out to eat like a really nice dinner, man, I have a sweet tooth bad, right? So I love to get dessert. I don't skip dessert. And we went out to Fogo de Chao. It's a Brazilian steakhouse. So it's not, even when we cheat, we don't really cheat too hard. But I had some mashed potatoes, had some sugar on bacon because they had this like maple cured bacon. Oh my god, it's so good. And then had dessert. Anyway, long story short, had a lot of carbs, and man, the next day I was wrecked. It literally felt like I had worked out, drank, all the above. My body hurt, my joints ached. Like mental fog was off. It's insane. And right now I'm kind of dealing with the mental fog because I'm coming off of that. But back hardcore today, um, back on it and love it. Probably best decision that I've ever made. But what I will say is if you're gonna do it, do your research. Do your research because you can do it wrong and you can screw your body up. So I will say that. It is yes, it is a meat diet, but that's actually not what it is. It's actually a high fat diet. So if you're eating nothing but lean meats, you're in bad shape. You need the fats. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox about that. But yeah, man, love it. Cheap freight hauler says, hopefully we'll find a $150 out of Houston. You can probably do a little bit better than that, but not much. Let's have a look. Let's see. Let's see what we got. That's what I have pulled up just because I'm from here. I don't dive into this here because really the value's just not there. But if you guys do want to see a specific lane, leave a comment. You can leave a comment here on the live, and I'll look at that lane for you, give you the average. But you probably want to leave it. And I haven't gone back and looked from this past weekend just because I had my kids. So if you're wondering, I will get to that tomorrow. But leave a comment after this reloads and just put the lane in there and I'll have a look. But coming out of Houston right now with a 150-mile deadhead on a van, 53-footer, which would be pretty standard. There's a $1,900 load running down to Laredo at 39,000 pounds. Not bad. This load will cross the border, so it needs to be delivered to Mexico. I'd avoid that. Crossing the border down there, by the way, if you don't know, takes a long time. You don't want to go down there and get stuck. And even if you're going to just drop that trailer, have someone else take it across the border, which is very likely what's going to happen, you're very likely going to sit there for like 7 weeks. Or 7 days. So don't do that. Don't do that. Cheap freight. mean, not really cheap freight. It's just if it's not paying $1,000, it's below my standards, right? So, and if I wouldn't run it, I'm not even going to talk about it. You can run out to Odessa, not really the greatest area, especially for a van for $1,600, $3 a mile. You could bounce over to Baton Rouge for $800, but like again, a little bit low, and it's 45,000 pounds. That's a little rough, right? You can run over to Minden, Louisiana. It's probably the same load. Actually, it's not. TQL. 3,200 bucks. You can run out of Pasadena, which is over there on the east side, and you can run up to Winston Salem, North Carolina. So not bad. It's 1,100 miles, and it's a team. Dang it, it's a team. That's sad. Running out of Baytown, running over to Milledgeville. I don't know if I said that right. Georgia. 25,000 pounds. Nothing special about this one. $2,300, $279 a mile. Huh. Interesting. The broker gets a 97 credit score. Averages 19 days to pay, which is really good. You can factor with them with OTR Solutions if you want. I mean, that's pretty good. It's a day and a half load. I generally like to set my loads up to run minimum 500 miles a day. So if I could kick this off on the second day in the afternoon, and if I needed to actually bounce up to South Carolina, could do that. Could do that. So I mean, that's not bad. And here's what I love about DAT, right? And yes, I get it. But at the same time, this is why they're the best load board. It's why they're the number one load board they are. So this load is posted at $2,300. Okay. Spot rate on this is 17.12. Look at that difference. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's how you know like they need to move this load. So this is a load that it sits is $600 more, almost paying 33% more than normal. So 133%, more than normal. That's a great load. I would ask for more money. I'd be like, hey, can you help me out with fuel? Can you give me another $50 at least? Like, I mean, I'd try to get something out of them, right? Every little bit counts. But at the same time, if they just told me no, I'd be like, all right, well, go ahead and let's book it. So that's a good one. And going to an okay area that's a little sketchy, but it's okay. You can run down to Florida. Never recommend that. I don't know where Milton, Florida's at, but the middle of Florida was looking okay. Mississippi. So this one's not bad. It's paying 1,100 bucks. It's a short hop. Yeah, 405 miles. So not bad. It's paying that the rate per mile average on this 272, whereas normally it's 245. So you're over $100 above average at the moment there too. We've looked at a couple loads and they're above average already. So let's see what this is running out to Midland for. Yeah, it's above average. Laplace, Louisiana. If you want to go get you some Cajun food, you could do that. 825. Now, see, this one's below average. And since you've got some loads that are running over to Louisiana, and it's not TQL, if you wanted to run that way, I'd call them up and be like, look, I'll run it for at least 950 because the average spot rate's 922. And that's how you arm yourself. You call them up. Hey, look, I know that lane pays $9 or $922 originally. You've got it posted for 825, so that's extremely below average. What I will do, especially since it's difficult to get out of Houston right now, to get freight out of Houston right now, is I'll run that for 950 and see what they say. Orange down to Miami, 2750. Let's see what the lane's normally doing. So it's above average. So I mean, the majority of the freight's above average. So got decent negotiating power down in Houston. You can run over to Jacksonville. Now Jacksonville, I didn't mind running on a really good rate. Now see, this is just an average rate. It's $2,000 to run over there, 1950 on the spot, typical. So it's a little bit above average, but What I would do whenever I ran over to Jacksonville, I always got really good money, and I always got a huge bump. The reason I always got a huge bump is because I'd say, "Look, this is going into Florida. I get that it's Jacksonville and it's closer to Georgia, but I'm gonna have to bounce all the way up to Atlanta right now, and at the moment, Atlanta's market's messed up too, so I'm gonna have to bounce all the way up to South Carolina. In order for me to do that, I'm gonna need you to at least fill up my tank after I'm done with this load. So I'll run this load for, 2350 and see what they say or more. But I always got huge that literally worked like 90 plus percent of the time. And I loved going to Jacksonville. It's always easy in, easy out. Never had any issues over there. What else we got? We run up to Oklahoma out of Port Arthur, but Port Arthur's not exactly close to Houston. That's going to be on the max deadhead there. You can go to Colorado. I don't recommend it, especially with a so-called biker club running over to, or not a so-called, but just a biker club running over to that area. I'd probably steer clear. They're not going to mess with you, but at the same time, you don't know what the hell's going on. So $600 to bounce up to Terrell, which is up near Dallas. If I don't know, if I didn't find anything coming out of Houston, maybe as a reposition, I might run that. But if I couldn't kick this off same day, I wouldn't run that. I would rather deadhead personally. What else? Let's see. Let's look for something decent. And what I mean by decent is like paying a couple grand, going down to Florida. All this stuff's running down in Florida. You can run over to Hopeville, Georgia. That's 217 a mile at 44,000 pounds. That's good old Landstar. Landstar Ranger. They can come way up on that, especially being that heavy. The average spot rate on that's showing 1629. They've got it posted for 17. But one thing I will tell you, there's more money there. That I can guarantee. You can run over to Joplin. This wouldn't be bad. Everything was red that way. It's 44,000 and it's paper rolls. Paper rolls were not my favorite load to run, but it's there. It's an option if you want it. Run to Chattanooga. I'd probably take this one over the paper rolls, although even it's heavier. It's a roll stock paper. The commodity thing has not slipped my mind yet, by the way, if you're still with me. Anyway, so there's some freight coming out of Houston. MAGA or bust. Yeah, I don't want to get political on this channel, right? But Trump all the way. Dude, I did not cross the border. So I messed up whenever I was younger. I was 21 years old, and I wound up getting a DUI out in California. And man, Canada is super strict about that. I have to go through this. If it's fairly recent, you have to go through this rehabilitation process. And even if it's not recent, I mean, this thing was back in 2003, right? And if I wanted to go today, it would still be an absolute headache, and not even for business. If I just wanted to go for pleasure, like it is crazy. They are just super strict. And I mean, it wasn't a felony. It was a misdemeanor. But at the same time, like I said all that. I wanted to make the trip to Alaska. That was one of the things that I really, really wanted to do, but unfortunately, I just was never able to. And that's just because it's so hard. It's so hard to get in, to get through, and it's not hard to get in. I say that it's not hard to get in. What is hard to do is get out. They'll let you in if you like owe child support, which you're a piece of shit and you should be locked up anyway. But if you owe back child support, like if you've got any kind of felony, if you've got even a DUI, which I'm not downplaying it, it's horrendous. But I mean, at the same time, like it's a misdemeanor, and it was over 2 decades ago. They will let you in, but good luck getting out. Um, that trip is super rough on trucks. It's, the roads are really, really bad going up there. And so I would have likely had to have bought a new truck before I went up there. And, it didn't work out for me. So no, I didn't. I would never go down to Mexico. If you've ever been down to Mexico, you should see how they drive. If you think that we drive poorly here in the United States, you haven't seen anything, and you can get a taste of that running through El Paso. So if you want to pull your hair out every single time you run through El Paso, imagine that times 10 down in Mexico. So there you go. But anyway, that's it. Ran a little bit longer than usual today. That's because I was my typical rambling self. But hey, I hope you guys, hope you guys get some value out of this. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for the support. Thanks for hanging around. I sincerely appreciate it. Let's just see. I'm curious to see if these trend lines have updated. I know I said we'd get to it tomorrow, but yep, no, it's not updated yet. Something's up. I'm sure they're on it. I'm sure they're aware of it. At some point this week, we will see what reefer freight is doing as compared to last week. It pretty much trends the same. I It's definitely going to be above 245. I will go ahead and step out there and put myself out there and say that I'm highly confident that it'll at a minimum be above 245. How much above? I don't know. I don't know. You're a nickel up from the peak on van rates, and you're 19 cents up on the peak from flatbed. So market's moving in the right direction. That's a good thing. Yeah. Jack, I'm not even sure what's funny. I don't know. Who knows? I think it's probably my MAGA comment, but I said it, and I mean, if he is hands down the best for truck drivers, and if you're listening to this and you think differently, may God have mercy on your soul. Anyway, not going to get political on this channel. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, even if it is horrible. That being said, you guys have a wonderful day. I appreciate all you guys staying around. If you found some value, hit that like button. I appreciate it. Thank you. And keep the shiny side up. But as always, stay driven.